Welcome back. So let's get to Mark Way as we continue our focus on the president's return and the speech that he gave. Mark Way.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. To discuss that with us this morning is Anthony Ehilebo, who is a member of the People's Democratic Party and also a member of the Standing Committee of Finance of the PDP. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily.
Good morning, Mahope.
Good morning. So what did you make of the activities, the events of the weekend? Let's start with, first of all, when you saw that broadcast by the President's Special Advisor, Mr. Femi Adesina, that the President was going to return. What did you think at that point?
Well, to be honest, I think it was more a situation of relief for me. The night before, we had monitored the protests in front of Nigeria House, and for me as a Nigerian, it was a huge embarrassment. And I had the feeling that by the next morning, you would have had a lot more of the British press, a lot more of the international media carrying on with this. Don't forget that 3 weeks ago, Farid Zakaria of CNN actually put up a question or a poll that was hugely embarrassing to the country. So as a Nigerian, I think Nigeria first. I think about protecting the integrity of this country because I travel and I know how people regard us at this point in time. So we should be more interested in protecting our country, the integrity of Nigeria than any other thing. And I was quite glad that the president decided to return back to the country.
So would you say that was an embarrassment caused by Nigerians themselves?
I think it was more a situation of bad management in terms of the handlers of the president, in terms of how they have managed the situation. One, you had media advisors coming on air and saying they hadn't even spoken to their principal in 3 months. And that wasn't something that you want to hear. It means that we don't have a robust engagement system within the president. Of course, it's been clear from the first outing of the president that there's a lack of communication or even proper perspective on communication within the presidency.
So, I mean, what would you have had them do? Because some people will say that despite the communication, it was very clear that the president was traveling out. I mean, the very first time he traveled out, there was no protest. But people were wondering, you know, just how soon will he return? And then eventually he came back. He did say that he was sick and then subsequently said he was going to travel out. You know, he was going to be going out again for medical treatment. And then eventually he did. So he did tell us that he was going to be away for a while and did what he had to do by the Constitution.
What ails the president? Can you tell me what ails the president? He's a public figure. I mean, again, you had people who work with him coming to say that, let us assume that he's a private citizen. He can never be a private citizen until he resigns or he's left office. So
do you think that if we had known what ailed the president, people would not have been protesting in front of Abuja House?
Let's get this right. I'm not one that wants to give knocks to the president or the presidency because the man fell ill. Earlier on this year, my father, who's he's about 60-something, took ill. So I'm sympathetic towards that cause. But a man that leads 170 million people in a country that is currently in a recession, a country that has almost 16 point, it was 17 point something, had dropped to 16% inflation. That's not the kind of thing you need to be hearing, that the man at the helm of affairs is absent for 3 months. And nothing credible is being heard about why and what ails him.
So he's back now. I mean, you did say that relief was what washed over you,
yes,
when you heard that he was coming back.
Yes.
And then people were looking forward to seeing him resume office, you know, as soon as he got back, which we heard he was going to do yesterday, and he did, through, first of all, the broadcast which he gave Nigerians. So what were you looking to hear from him? Because we were also informed, as it on Friday, that broadcast was going to come. You were full of expectations, I imagine. When you eventually heard the broadcast by the president, did it meet your expectations?
Okay, first of all, as a lawyer, I'm a procedural person. Procedurally, I feel the president shouldn't have made that broadcast until he had sent in his letter. So procedurally, it was an anomaly. And then the expectation from the broadcast, and you know, people refer to it as a 6-minute broadcast. That broadcast was 3 minutes and 57 seconds. That's a huge disappointment. Going through media comments, it was not conciliatory as you expected the president. I mean, there was a hoax message going around before that broadcast that this was the speech of the president. And when I read it, I was like, okay, so we do have some traction here in terms of communicating with the people. But that broadcast, I must tell you, did not communicate with the people. And
were you measuring the president's broadcast against the hoax speech? Was that what you were doing?
There was a huge expectation from what the president was going to tell. Look, the economy reacts to the body language and the speech of whatever the president says. I must tell you that there was a lot of expectation as to what the president will say. Besides, this is a speech that had already leaked, because immediately after the speech, you had the newspaper review, and all the headlines carried what the president had said.
Yeah, because
it will tell you that it wasn't even a live broadcast. No, it was a pre-recorded broadcast.
What's wrong with that?
Well, you see, this government has had one failing. And I think the major failing of this government has been communicating with the people, engaging the people. From the first time this man took office in May 29, 2015, he has had